The studio lights glowed with morning warmth. The set polished to perfection, blue glass panels, white edges gleaming, coffee mugs staged just so. Applause swelled from the wings, that familiar cue. Here we go. Meghan Markle entered, cream blazer falling effortlessly over a sleek blouse, her smile flawless, practiced, camera ready. She shook hands, posed for the second camera, crossed her legs with the elegance of 1,000 red carpets, and sat. "Meghan, welcome," Kelly Ripa said, her tone soft sunshine. "We're so happy you're here." "Thrilled to be here," Meghan answered, teeth catching the light. The smile never reached her eyes. Mark Consuelos leaned forward, relaxed and attentive. "You've had a big year. New projects, new partnerships. For folks just waking up with us, what's the focus right now?" Meghan's response was polished, almost metallic. Storytelling with impact. Elevating unheard voices. Building platforms that move culture forward. Kelly nodded, gentle and inviting.
Impact is such a strong word.
"With your new season coming up, what themes excite you?" "Agency," Meghan replied. "Refusing to be defined by outdated systems." "Outdated systems?" Kelly repeated lightly, like testing the flavor of the phrase. "Do you mean Hollywood or the bigger one?" Meghan's smile sharpened. "If a system survives by silencing people, age is just a number." A faint murmur rippled through the audience, barely caught by microphones. Mark kept his composure. "You've spoken about controlling your narrative. You stepped back from royal duties for privacy, which makes sense. But you've also been very public. Interviews, series, a memoir. How do you balance that?" "Privacy is not silence," Meghan said, her tone edged. "It's agency. I decide what matters." "That's not a contradiction." "That's adulthood." Kelly's smile held steady, though her eyes tightened a shade. "Totally hear you." On the business side, there's been chatter about negotiations for the new season. Some say robust. "Did you ask for significantly more?" Meghan laughed, the sound both pretty and pointed. "Isn't it funny how when a woman asks for market value, she's greedy? But when a man does, it's vision? We align compensation with impact." "That's not gossip, that's math." Kelly gave a gracious nod. "So it's fair to say you pushed for parity?" "It's fair to say we don't discount ourselves," Meghan replied, folding her hands like the final stroke of punctuation. Mark eased the air. "Let's shift personal, only what you're comfortable with." "Fans admire your marriage as a team, though separate schedules spark rumors. Anything you want to share?" Meghan's smile cooled. "Teams divide and conquer. Adults have calendars. If strangers need more than that, I suggest a hobby." Nervous chuckles sprinkled through the risers. Kelly, unfazed, pressed forward. "Okay, setting home life aside, your advocacy for mental health and women's leadership has struck chords. What does success look like this year?" "Stories that don't ask permission," Meghan said crisply. "And closing the door on noise." Kelly studied her next card, then set it down. "You've been candid about the monarchy. Some say your tone dismisses tradition. Do you still feel that way?" Meghan sat taller. "Tradition without humanity is pageantry. I don't confuse costumes with character." The air in the room shifted. The audience inhaled as one. Mark, velvet-voiced, asked, "Do you see any path to reconciliation with the family?" "Fans truly hope for that." "Reconciliation begins with truth, not choreography," Meghan said flatly. "I don't perform apologies." Kelly's smile faltered, then recovered. "You've said your truth many times. Others claim their facts differ, timelines, details. Is there space for—" Meghan cut in, still smiling. "For people to stop nitpicking my life?" "That would be refreshing." The silence that followed was louder than words. Kelly tried again, softer. "We ask because millions care. Context helps." "Context," Meghan said, "is often a velvet rope. It keeps certain people inside the story and others out." "I'm inside mine." Mark glanced at the camera, ready to pivot. "Then let's give you that space. What do you want people to finally understand?" "That I don't owe them a performance," Meghan said, eyes steady. "I share because I choose to. Not because strangers are entitled to inventory my life." Kelly folded her hands, her ring catching the light. "And because this is also a show about breakfast table honesty. Do you ever look back wishing you'd phrased things differently?" "With more grace?" Meghan considered, then replied, "Grace is often code for be smaller." "I don't do smaller." The line hit the desk like ice. Mark nodded thoughtfully while Kelly steadied herself. "All right, one last business question before break. You've built a production brand quickly. Some critics say the royal title opens doors even as you critique the monarchy. Is that tension for you? Meghan's smile returned, camera perfect, unamused. If a name opens a door, it's because the room wants me there. Tension isn't my problem. It belongs to whoever resents the invite. Heads turned in the risers. Mark smoothed the air with a practiced grin. We'll pause here. When we come back, some rapid fire from viewers and a sneak peek at the new season. Lovely, Meghan said, still smiling. The word landed like a stamp, not a sentiment. Music swelled, applause lights flashed. In the half-shadow of the reset, a makeup artist approached Meghan, only to retreat when Meghan lifted one palm without breaking her gaze. A floor manager whispered to Kelly, "Spicy." Kelly didn't answer. She stared into that empty distance of live TV, the place where charm meets honesty and only one can survive. 30 seconds, came the voice from the booth. Mark sipped his coffee. You good? Kelly smiled, genuine and complicated. Always. Meghan adjusted her blazer, gaze hardening. The countdown fell. 5, 4, 3. The tally light flared red again. The studio shrank, as though the city outside leaned in to hear a question no one had dared voice. Welcome back, Kelly said brightly, her warmth intact but layered with steel. We're here with Meghan Markle, who's been sharing her projects and perspectives on just about everything. Applause rose dutifully, but the space between host desk and guest chair was tight, brittle as a drawn bowstring. Meghan crossed one leg, crisp as armor. Yes, she said smoothly. And it's important people hear me, not the distortion from tabloids, or sometimes even mainstream interviews. The implication hit like a dart aimed straight at Kelly. Kelly swallowed it with grace. That's why we value these conversations, so viewers hear directly from you. She set aside her card, locking eyes. But Meghan, we do have to ask. Reports say you demanded a much larger paycheck for your new season. Some outlets even claimed production nearly stalled. How do you respond? The audience leaned forward. Meghan gave a low, cutting laugh. Predictable. A woman knows her worth and suddenly it's scandalous. Do you ever ask male executives why they negotiate? Or is my paycheck just another way to police women's ambition? Ripples of murmurs echoed through the risers. Kelly's smile thinned. Viewers are curious because it's a global project. They want to understand, Meghan sliced in. What they want is to tear down a woman who refuses to apologize for success. And frankly, Kelly, I won't play that role. Kelly held her smile, brittle now. Mark leaned in, velvet voice steady. Let's broaden this. When you talk about success, what matters most? Financial freedom, creative control, influence. Meghan's reply was immediate. Control? Always control. I won't live under institutions that script my every move. Kelly tilted her head, seizing the opening. Speaking of institutions, the monarchy. You've criticized it harshly, yet many say you benefited enormously from its platform. Do you see the irony? A soft gasp rippled through the audience. Mark's brow furrowed. He sensed the danger. Meghan's smile flickered, then hardened. Irony? Surviving a toxic system while exposing it isn't irony. It's courage. People forget the cruelty I endured because it doesn't fit their fairy tale of crowns and castles. Kelly leaned closer, refusing to retreat. But some argue you embraced the privileges, the visibility, the platform, then discarded the responsibility. Meghan leaned forward, her disdain sharpened to a blade. Kelly, you of all people know being visible doesn't mean being safe. Responsibility? Don't speak to me of responsibility when I spent years protecting a family that never once protected me. The audience fell silent, every gaze bouncing between the women. Mark stepped in, voice calm. It sounds like those years still weigh on you. Is reconciliation possible with the royal family? Meghan's tone was rehearsed, icy. Reconciliation requires honesty. Honesty has never been their strength. Kelly folded her hands tighter, her patience fraying. Her voice softened but edged with steel. When you speak this way, don't you worry you're alienating people who want to support you? That constant negativity overshadows your other work. Meghan laughed bitterly. If people care more about defending the monarchy than listening to the truth of a woman who lived it, then they're not the supporters I need. A few in the audience clapped, uncertain if they were cheering bravery or arrogance. Kelly glanced at Mark. He gave a tiny shake of his head as if to say, let it go. But Kelly didn't. Her tone sharpened. Don't you think it's fair for viewers to wonder if you're still benefiting from the very monarchy you call toxic? The titles, the spotlight, the platform, it all came from there. And now it feels like you're cashing the checks while tearing down the bank. The words hung heavy, the air thick. The set gleamed under studio light, but the temperature had shifted. The interview had crossed from conversation to confrontation, and everyone in the room knew it. The studio froze. Even the camera crew exchanged uneasy glances. Kelly had drawn her sharpest line yet, and Meghan's eyes lit with fury. "That's a lazy narrative, Kelly," she snapped. "Everything I have, I've built on my own terms. If people can't accept that, it's their problem, not mine." Kelly's jaw tightened, but she held her tongue. Mark jumped in, his velvet voice smoothing over sparks. "We'll circle back after the break. More with Meghan Markle in just a moment." The applause sign blinked, but the clapping was scattered, hesitant. Meghan tugged her blazer into place like armor. Kelly exhaled sharply, staring off to the side, jaw tight. Mark rubbed his temple. In the control booth, producers whispered in disbelief. This was supposed to be morning television, yet here they were, holding a live grenade. The red light flared again. Theme music faded. The audience hushed, anticipation thick in the air. Mark leaned toward the lens, smile calm but taut. "Welcome back to Live with Kelly and Mark. We're here with Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, discussing her latest projects." The applause was tepid, reluctant. Meghan sat back, arms folded, smirk curling at her lips as if daring another challenge. Kelly straightened, papers trembling faintly in her hand. Decades of TV had trained her to smile through storms, but Meghan's sharpness was chipping away at her composure. "All right, Meghan," Kelly began, voice measured but edged. "Before the break, you spoke about control and survival. But let's be candid. Your Netflix projects have made headlines not just for content, but for negotiations. Reports claim you asked for a significantly higher payout for the upcoming season. Can you clear the air? Is this about passion or profit?" The room held its breath. Meghan's smirk widened. "How predictable. A woman asserts her worth and suddenly it's scandal. Men negotiate every day, but when I do it, it's greed. That's not scandal, that's sexism." A ripple of murmurs moved through the risers. Some clapped hesitantly, others shifted uncomfortably. Kelly pressed, her smile thin. "Ambition isn't the concern, it's consistency. You've spoken of privacy, purpose, service, yet your brand often reads as celebrity PR. Doesn't that contradiction deserve an answer?" Meghan leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Contradiction? No. What you're seeing is evolution. If people can't grasp that, it says more about them than me." Kelly opened her mouth, but Meghan cut across her, sharper now. "And frankly, I'm tired of women like you, media darlings dragging down other women just to appease an audience hooked on controversy." The audience gasped. The jab landed harder than Meghan may have intended. Kelly froze, her poise cracking. Mark stepped in fast. "Let's take a step back. Kelly's point is about curiosity. Are your projects about storytelling or brand building? Isn't that fair to ask?" Meghan shot him a dismissive look. "Fair? What's fair about interrogating me for daring to want both? Men juggle business and influence all the time. But when I do it, suddenly it's an agenda." Kelly's grip on her cards tightened. She inhaled, forcing her smile. "Then let's shift. Meghan, you've often spoken about your struggles with the royal family. But do you worry that continually criticizing the monarchy alienates people who admired you when you first stepped into that role?" Meghan gave a short, cold laugh. "Alienates them? Good. If they wanted a docile duchess who bows and smiles, they picked the wrong woman. I refuse to glorify a dusty institution built on blind obedience." Gasps swept the audience. Some clapped nervously. Most sat frozen. Even Mark's brows shot up. Kelly pushed forward, firmer now. "But Meghan, isn't it true that much of your visibility, your platform, your current deals, stem directly from the monarchy you condemn? Without it, would you be here?" The smirk vanished. Meghan's eyes blazed. "So what? Am I supposed to worship a system forever, no matter how damaging it was? That's absurd. I turned a toxic situation into something meaningful. I will never apologize for that." The control room buzzed, producers debating whether to cut to commercial. The stage manager hovered near the signal. But Kelly leaned in, eyes locked on Meghan. "You say you refuse to apologize. But what about accountability? You criticize the monarchy while profiting from its titles, its visibility, its reach. None of this existed before Harry." The words landed like a hammer. The audience erupted into murmurs, torn between shock and approval. Mark shifted, placing a hand on Kelly's arm, but she didn't move. Meghan's jaw clenched, her voice low but dripping venom. "Accountability, Kelly?" The only accountability I have is to my family and my truth. I will not sit here and be scolded for refusing to be a palace puppet. Keep your media theatrics. I've outgrown this circus. Her words cracked across the studio like a slap. Kelly's face paled. Her mask slipped. Mark whispered something off mic, but she shook her head, resolute. The audience could feel it. The storm had arrived. Kelly slid her cards aside, voice steady but sharp as glass. Then maybe, Meghan, it's time we ask who's really putting on the performance here. The studio fell silent. Meghan's chin lifted, eyes narrowed in defiance. Kelly's patience had shattered. Mark's careful calm was unraveling. For the first time that morning, the polite stage of daytime TV had turned into a battlefield. The tension inside the Live with Kelly and Mark's studio was unbearable. Every second stretched like a wire pulled too tight. Meghan Markle sat rigid, her cream blazer flawless but her eyes hard and unyielding. Across from her, Kelly Ripa's smile was gone. Her cards trembled in her hand, but her resolve did not. Mark Consuelo sat between them, helpless as the storm raged. Kelly leaned in, her voice calm but edged with steel. Meghan, you've said again and again that you won't apologize, that you've outgrown the monarchy and the media. But viewers are wondering, are you speaking your truth or rewriting the story to keep the spotlight on yourself? The audience froze. Meghan smirked. Rewrite? Kelly, I lived it. I don't need to rewrite my pain. What's amusing is how people like you, who have never walked in my shoes, feel entitled to lecture me about my life. Her words dripped with disdain. Kelly's jaw tightened. Entitled? No, Meghan. What feels entitled is dismissing every question with arrogance while painting yourself as the only victim. What feels entitled is condemning a monarchy and family, yet profiting from the very title that gave you this platform. Gasps filled the room. Meghan's smirk wavered, her hand gripping the chair. I don't need that platform. I built my own. Everything I have is because of my work. Kelly's eyes flashed. Really everything? The documentaries, the million-dollar contracts, the endless press, none of it would exist without the royal connection. Without Harry, you despise the monarchy, yet your empire exists because of it. Meghan's voice rose. I didn't choose that shadow. It was forced on me. Turning it into something positive is survival, not exploitation. Mark tried to step in, but Kelly pulled away, her patience gone. No, Mark, enough. Her voice cut like glass. I've listened to Meghan dodge responsibility, act above accountability, and I'm done. You criticize the monarchy, but cling to the title. You demand privacy, but sell your story at every opportunity. You claim independence, but everything, fame, fortune, attention, started with Harry. And instead of gratitude, all we've seen is entitlement. The audience gasped louder, some clapping, others silent. Meghan's face hardened, but Kelly pressed on. And let's talk about Harry. You tear down his family, but that's his blood. And you've turned him into a supporting role in the Meghan Markle show. Meghan's voice shook. How dare you? No, Kelly snapped. How dare you? Walking in here dripping with superiority, expecting everyone to bow to your narrative. Enough. This isn't the stage for royal tantrums. Not today, not on my show. The audience erupted with whispers, phones raised to capture history. Meghan froze, her knuckles white. Her mask had cracked. You think you can humiliate me on television? She hissed. Kelly stood fiery and unshaken. No, Meghan. The only one humiliated here is you, and you did it to yourself. This interview is over. Meghan ripped off her microphone, storming out, heels striking the floor like gunshots. Her face burned with rage, her eyes glistened with defeat. The cameras followed until she vanished behind the curtain. Silence hung heavy. Kelly turned to the audience, breathing hard. To our viewers, I apologize. This show stands for honesty and respect. What you saw was arrogance pushed too far, and I won't allow that here. The audience broke into applause, steady and supportive. The broadcast cut to commercial, but the moment was already etched in history. Within minutes, clips would explode across social media. Meghan had come seeking control. Instead, she walked into a reckoning, and America had just witnessed one of the most explosive clashes in morning TV history.